These signs have been hidden for centuries. They mean your huge gift is near. There's a moment in life, often overlooked, when something ancient begins to stir inside you. Not everyone notices it, and even fewer recognize what it truly means. It's subtle at first, like a whisper from somewhere beyond time, a feeling that something is coming, something big. You can't explain it, but you feel it in your bones. You wake up differently. The air feels heavier, like it's carrying a secret. You start seeing strange patterns, repeating numbers, dreams that feel too vivid to be random. And then it hits you. This isn't coincidence. This is a message. And the message is clear: your gift is near. But here's the truth. These signs have been hidden for centuries. They're hidden behind tradition, buried by fear, distorted by those who didn't want humanity to know how powerful we really are. And yet, they've always been there, waiting for the right ones to awaken. You're not watching this by accident. You're being called. Not by me, not by this video, but by something deeper, something eternal.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Now, I want to take you into a journey not just of the signs themselves, but of what they mean. Because signs are like doors, but most people never open them. They see the signs, feel the shift, and then go back to sleep. They numb themselves with distraction. They convince themselves they're imagining things. But dark chosen ones, rare beings, those who carry ancient codes in their soul, they know better. We hear the call. We feel the tremble in the veil, and we answer. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like reality was bending around you? Like you were walking through a dream that only you could see? That's not fantasy. That's perception expanding. And it's one of the first signs. The physical world begins to feel slightly off, as if you're experiencing a glitch. This isn't a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. Your senses are tuning to a higher frequency. Your nervous system is preparing to receive something that can't be understood through logic. That's why you feel disoriented. That's why things you used to care about suddenly feel meaningless. You're shedding a skin that no longer fits. And here's what most people miss. The discomfort is part of the gift. You're not meant to feel normal right now. You're meant to feel different, because you are. You're evolving. Ancient signs show up not when life is easy, but when your soul is ready to be initiated. You may feel more alone, more silent, more still. You may even feel like everything around you is crumbling. But what if I told you that is the exact moment when the gift gets activated? What if breakdown isn't the end, but the sacred cracking open of your real self? There's a reason monks go into caves. There's a reason prophets hear voices in the desert. There's a reason shamans spend years in isolation. Because the gift doesn't arrive in the noise. It arrives in the stillness. It arrives when you're stripped bare. And in modern times, that cave is your inner world. It's the moment you unplug. The moment you stop chasing and start listening. One of the most ancient signs that your gift is near is the collapse of identity. You stop recognizing yourself. The person you were last year, last month, last week gone. You don't know what you like anymore. You can't fake conversations. You can't force relationships. It's like your soul is rejecting anything not aligned with your true frequency. And that's terrifying, because we're taught to cling. But in spiritual truth, letting go is the gateway to power. Another hidden sign is divine discontent. You look around at your life, even if it looks good on paper, and something feels off. You can't explain it, you just know this isn't it. That knowing, that quiet restlessness, that's your soul preparing for an upgrade. And here's where it gets wild. The universe will start stripping away comfort to force you into alignment. Jobs fall apart, relationships unravel, old dreams dissolve. And if you resist, the pain intensifies. But if you surrender, if you trust the dismantling, you make space for something miraculous to arrive. But have you been waking up at strange hours, especially between 2 and 4 a.m.? That's not insomnia, that's initiation. In ancient mystery schools, early morning hours were known as the veil hours, when the physical and spiritual worlds overlap. If you're waking then, it's because something is knocking. The question is, will you answer? Let's go deeper. Have you noticed synchronicities that are almost too precise to ignore? A name showing up multiple times, a symbol repeating, a song playing with lyrics that speak to something you just felt. That's not the universe playing games. That's the universe speaking. And the reason it's happening more often is because your field is expanding. You're tapping into the quantum. You're aligning with your higher timeline. And the closer the gift gets, the louder the signs become. But here's the catch. These signs are not meant to entertain you. They're meant to call you into action. You can't just collect them like spiritual souvenirs. You have to ask, what are they asking me to do? What truth am I avoiding? What power am I not claiming? Because the gift doesn't come to the passive. It comes to the ready. And one of the most hidden signs, the one the ancient texts hinted at but never fully revealed, is the return of old wounds. The gift never arrives without a test. Right before your blessing, the past shows up. Old fears, old heartbreaks, old patterns. Why? Because the version of you that holds your gift cannot carry those wounds unhealed. The universe is not punishing you, it's purging you. It's saying, are you truly ready, or are you still hiding behind the past? So I ask you now, soul to soul, what are you still clinging to that your future cannot hold? What are you willing to release so the gift can finally arrive? Your gift is closer than you think. The signs are all around you, but will you recognize them? Will you answer? The sacred countdown, why everything falling apart means you're about to receive everything. There comes a moment in the life of every awakened soul when the world they once knew begins to dissolve. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in a quiet unraveling. Things that once made sense begin to feel foreign. People drift away. Goals lose their flavor, but habits become hollow. It feels like life is falling apart, piece by piece, and yet deep within you, there's an unsettling calm, as if a part of you already knows this is not destruction. This is preparation. This is the sacred countdown before something extraordinary arrives. When everything begins to collapse, our first instinct is to grab tighter. We try to cling to the job, the relationship, the identity, the old version of who we think we're supposed to be. But what if the very thing you're trying to save is the thing that's keeping you from your gift? What if the breakdown is not the problem, but the portal? What if the falling apart is the divine making space for the truth that's been waiting to enter your life all along? You see, we've been conditioned to believe that chaos is the enemy, that uncertainty is failure, that loss is punishment. But in the realm of the soul, chaos is a compass. It doesn't come to ruin you. It comes to reroute you. When you ask the universe for a breakthrough, it doesn't hand you a neatly wrapped package. It starts moving everything that isn't aligned with the frequency of your answered prayer. And that movement can feel like your life is being torn apart, because it is, but only the parts that were never truly yours. If you've been feeling like nothing is sticking, like you're in between timelines, floating in a void, unable to go back but unsure how to move forward, congratulations. That's the sacred space before the gift. That's the spiritual 0 point. It's the moment right before the lightning strikes, right before the vision becomes reality. The ancients knew this space well. They called it the dark womb of the soul, a place where everything dies so that something divine can be born. But here's where most people get stuck. They misread the signs of collapse as failure. They try to rebuild the old instead of allowing the new. They numb, they distract, they fight the process. And in doing so, they delay the gift. Not because they're unworthy, but because they're unwilling to let go. And this is where the spiritual warrior must rise. This is where you must ask yourself a question that cuts deeper than any surface affirmation. Am I brave enough to lose everything false so I can become everything true? Let's talk about the pain. Because it's real. Losing what you once loved, even if it no longer serves you, hurts. Watching relationships dissolve, watching the version of you that once fit so well in the world begin to disappear, it can feel like death. And in many ways it is. It's the death of illusion, the death of identity, the death of who you were in order to become who you're meant to be. But here's the sacred truth: nothing real can ever be lost. Only the false dies in the fire. And through that fire, your gift emerges, not as a reward, but as a rebirth. Because your true gift isn't something external. It's an inner unlocking. It's a power that has always lived within you, waiting patiently behind every mask, every fear, every limitation. And when life strips everything away, when you're standing in the ruins with nothing left to prove, that's when your gift makes itself known. Because only then are you empty enough to receive it. Only then are you still enough to hear it. Have you noticed how, in the middle of your collapse, you've also become more intuitive, more sensitive to energy, more aware of things you used to overlook? That's not random. That's your soul finesse tuning itself. Your nervous system is being recalibrated for a higher purpose. Your body is becoming the vessel it was always meant to be. The pain isn't just emotional, it's energetic. You're shedding lifetimes of programming. You're clearing ancestral patterns. You're making room for the divine blueprint to activate. And this is when the signs start showing up with intensity. You'll hear a phrase in a song that feels like it was written for you. A stranger says something that answers the exact question you've been holding in your heart. You see a symbol, a number, a pattern, and something inside you stops. Because you know something is coming. You know the countdown is real. You can feel it in your breath, your bones, your dreams. But the countdown is not to some random miracle. It's to you, to the version of you that's been waiting behind the scenes, watching, whispering, guiding. The version of you that doesn't need permission, that doesn't need validation, that doesn't need to be liked or understood. The version of you that remembers why you came here in the first place. As everything falls apart, what remains is the truth. And that truth is your GPS. It's your sword. It's your seed. And it doesn't need to be forced. It only needs to be honored. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this making space for? Instead of clinging to what's crumbling, ask, what part of me is being reborn right now? Because these questions don't just lead to answers, they lead to alignment. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being broken. You are being broken open. The gift is near, closer than it's ever been. And the countdown has already begun. The arrival frequency, how to align your energy so the gift lands in your reality. There's a frequency your soul is trying to remember. A rhythm, a resonance, a vibration that isn't taught in schools or spoken in the language of the world. It's the frequency of arrival, the state of being that magnetizes your gift into form. And the secret is this: your gift isn't waiting to be found. It's waiting to be matched. It already exists in a layer of reality just slightly out of reach to the logical mind. But the moment you align with the vibration of what you seek, the separation collapses. The invisible becomes visible. The miracle becomes matter. Alignment is not about force. It's not about grinding, striving, or proving your worth. In fact, the more you try to chase the gift, the more it seems to run. Why? Because your gift is not something apart from you. It's a reflection of you, a mirror of your state of being. It responds not to what you want, but to what you are. And this is where the journey gets truly mystical, because the work isn't to go out and get the gift. The work is to become the version of you who naturally receives it. So how do you do that? You begin by purifying your signal. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every action you take is sending out a frequency. And the universe, in its infinite intelligence, doesn't judge it, it simply matches it. If you're vibrating in fear, it brings you more things to fear. If you're vibrating in trust, you start to notice synchronicities. If you're vibrating in gratitude, you unlock abundance. This isn't just spiritual poetry. This is quantum law. Reality is responding to your inner world, not your outer hustle. And when you finally understand this, you stop begging the universe and start becoming the universe. The first key is presence. You cannot align with something while being absent from your own life. Most people are living in a trance, thinking about yesterday, worrying about tomorrow, never truly here. But the gift only shows up in the now. It doesn't arrive in your imagination. It arrives in your awareness. So the practice is simple but profound. Return to the moment. Feel your breath. Notice your body. Witness your thoughts without attaching to them. Because the more present you become, the more tuned in you are to the guidance that's constantly being offered. Then comes embodiment. You must become the version of you who already holds the gift, not in fantasy, but in energy. How would you walk if you knew your gift was already on the way? How would you speak? What would you release? What kind of boundaries would you hold? What kind of self-respect would you command? This isn't about pretending, it's about aligning. Because embodiment sends the clearest signal to the universe, I am ready. And when the universe hears that, it responds in kind, fast, proust. But here's the twist. To align with your gift, you must also align with its cost. Every divine gift comes with a shedding, a price, a release. You cannot rise while holding on to what weighs you down. If your gift is a deep spiritual calling, you may have to let go of shallow connections. If your gift is a higher timeline, you may have to walk away from an old version of yourself. The universe is not cruel. It's precise. It knows what cannot come with you. And often, that's the real test, not whether you're willing to receive, but whether you're willing to release. This work is subtle, but it's everything. You begin to notice your energy shifting, that you stop needing to explain yourself. You stop chasing. You stop waiting. You start living as if your gift is already unfolding, because it is. And in that space, in that sacred frequency, the timelines collapse, and the separation dissolves. And the gift arrives not because you forced it, but because you became it. Can you feel it? That quiet shift in your chest, that soft electricity in your skin. That's not imagination. That's alignment. That's your soul recognizing its own reflection in these words. That's the arrival frequency anchoring in your field. And once you feel it, you'll never forget it. Because it's not something you achieve. It's something you remember. So I ask you now, not from a place of urgency, but from a place of truth, what would it feel like to stop chasing and start receiving? What would it feel like to trust that everything you've ever longed for is already finding its way to you, not tomorrow, not someday, but now? The gift is not coming. It's arriving. The final unveiling, how to recognize the gift when it appears in disguise. There is one last truth that few ever speak, because it's the hardest to accept and the most sacred to understand. Your gift almost never arrives the way you expect. It rarely looks like what you imagined. It doesn't always come wrapped in beauty, ease, or clarity. But sometimes it enters your life disguised as loss, as challenge, as the very thing you thought you had to avoid. And in that moment, when your mind tries to reject it, your soul must remember what it asked for. This is the final unveiling, the moment when what you've been calling in appears not as a perfect miracle, but as a test of perception. The universe doesn't just give you your gift. It asks, are you awake enough to see it? Because if you're still clinging to your old definitions of success, love, power, or purpose, you'll miss it. You'll walk right past it. You'll assume it's just another obstacle. But the awakened ones, the ones who've done the inner work, who've aligned their frequency, who've walked through the fire, they see through the disguise. They recognize the shape of destiny, even in chaos. Sometimes your gift comes as a person who triggers your deepest wounds because they're here to show you what still needs healing before you rise. Sometimes it comes as a job opportunity that scares you because it's stretching you into your true capacity. Sometimes it's the silence after everything falls apart because the space you're sitting in is the womb of your next creation. The ego wants the gift to feel good. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that the most divine gifts are the ones that invite your full becoming. So how do you recognize it? You listen deeper than your fear. You stop looking with your eyes and start feeling with your intuition. You ask, what if this moment is not here to break me, but to reveal me? What if this chaos is the answer to a prayer I forgot I made? These are not just poetic questions. They are activations. They shift you out of victimhood and into awareness. Because the moment you see the gift for what it is, even if it's wrapped in discomfort, you step into your power. And here's the most beautiful part. Once you recognize it, everything changes. It's like the universe exhales. The pressure lifts, and the path clears. You're no longer swimming against the current. you're flowing with it. Because now you're not resisting life, you're partnering with it. You're in the rhythm, you're in the flow. And the gift, once seen, begins to unfold with grace. Opportunities arise, connections appear, synchronicities increase, and you realize it was never about chasing something outside of you. It was always about becoming someone who could see clearly. But even then, the journey doesn't end, because the gift isn't a final destination. It's a doorway, a new beginning, a deeper calling. And as you walk through it, you'll be asked again and again, will you trust? Will you stay awake? Will you keep choosing alignment even when it's uncomfortable? Because that is the real gift, the transformation of who you are, the expansion of your soul, the remembrance of your divinity. So if you're standing at the edge right now, wondering if it's all real, if your gift is really near, if everything you've lost and endured and hoped for has been leading somewhere, this is your confirmation. Yes, it's real. Yes, you're ready. Yes, everything was for this. And no, it won't always look the way you thought it would. But that's the magic. That's the mystery. That's the sacred unfolding of a life lived in alignment with truth. Open your eyes. Open your heart. Look again. The gift is here. And it's always been yours.